Hello there, JerganJaze. Today we're doing, I know it's been a few weeks, but we're doing another sketchbook tour. So with this one, at the very beginning of this, I was starting drawing to the class in high school, and towards the end of it, we're going to get into like the beginnings of college for me. So with this is kind of the sketchbook where I felt like, again, these aren't all super like in order of how I did them because I was bouncing back and forth between a lot of these, but looking through this one, this is definitely the sketchbook that I noticed that I really started to get better and grasp certain concepts such as shading. So without further ado, let's get into it. So there's going to be a lot of shading practice that you'll see me do, and me starting to study anatomy. And so like these, she was just having us take, I can't remember if these were online images or actual objects that we could find, and drawing them. And she had us doing, there's a couple of skull pictures that she had us draw a lot throughout the classes that I had with her. This was one of them. Hopefully it's not in this sketchbook, but I'll try to remember to show in a different one. But this one, obviously not the best as far as shading, but really trying to get better with shading. One of the first like full-on trying to be realistic skulls I did. So decent for what it was at the time. And then she wasn't even commenting down here. I don't know if you can see. Yeah. Their perspective is strange. She was talking about for the eye, because I would just doodle and she would comment on my doodles in my sketchbook. So progress, we're still working on shading, a lot of form. You can see the mushrooms. I try to be a lot lighter with these. Granted, some of this is just rubbed off a bit since it is a little bit on the older side of things as far as sketches go. And then we were just practicing drawing different forms and making them look realistic, at least with just basic graphite. It doesn't look like I'm using a super soft graphite pencil or anything. I drew eyes everywhere. Even on my homework, I had a tendency to draw eyes. And then for one of our first projects for this class, like pieces, it had to do with drawing with hands and feet. So we did a lot of hands and feet practice. Whose hand was this? I know this was somebody's hand that I took a picture of, I believe. Maybe it was an image she gave us. But yeah, this you can definitely say, like, after some of that practice, I have a lot more better of a concept of shading another eyeball, because I felt the need to, I guess, put one on every single page in here. This I know was my own hand. I can tell because this pinky finger bends over quite a good bit, as you can see, just because I broke it when I was in middle school, so it tends to do that. Then we get into some feet bones, some muscle tissue and stuff. I love doing stuff like this. I find how muscles connect and everything to be really interesting, and granted, it's nothing that I have memorized, but it's really interesting, and if you can memorize it, it's super helpful. And I mean, just having a general understanding of what the underlying muscle form is going to be is super helpful, but just a lot of different foot practice from different angles, lots of note-taking that I did, or just labeling, because I love, if you've seen my other sketchbook videos, you know I love to label everything. So these two, I would also try to label the actual anatomical name. So phalanges, metacarpal. Got a little appraisal from my teacher here at the time, good. But doing bone hands, obviously. Hand bones, not bone hands. And then working into the form of them, different perspectives, breaking it down into just cylinders, and even just plain simple fingers, just practicing them, how they bend, everything like that. So this, I really need to come back to practicing hands like that, because I got really good when doing that. So these are some really basic forms down here that I think we had to do. Is just a simple warm-up exercise or something. And then these were some different ideas we had for, these were thumbnails for the piece. I wound up doing this one, and I still have it somewhere. Don't know where. Ooh, I hit my camera there, so sorry. Some more forms, working on just going from dark to light. It's something so simple, but it's really, really quite necessary when learning this stuff, and it's always good to return to these basics. It's something that I've been needing to do, has been returning to the basics, not because I'm bad, it's just always good, and you learn something new every time. So I got a little comment from her. Great book, keep it up, and create a range of values. She was big on like sharpening your pencil, because that did let you get darker and have more control and everything. So she just wanted to see me, because a lot of my stuff was very mid-tone in that range, so she just wanted me to push my darks more and stuff, which I eventually wind up doing, especially in the piece I wind up doing for these hands and stuff, which again I can't exactly show or anything. And then some more, I think these were more ideas for the piece. Yeah, this is the composition I eventually wound up with. Wound up being this more towards the bottom and like squared off like that. So this was kind of the final idea for it. I used, I think that's my hand, that's my mom's hand, and then that's my foot. Wound up using for reference. Really good to practice like hands and feet. They're really hard anatomy things to do, so if you can conquer that, you can, you know, conquer anything anatomy wise, really. And then starting to get into a different project we had for that class, focusing more on texture, so a lot of practice with wood textures and pine cones. It was specifically to draw pine cones and sticks that she had and set them up in an interesting composition and give them an interesting environment. So all I did for my environment was just put them on a big rock, and then trying to do a portrait, did a little anime dude in the corner. She was not a fan of like anime or us doing cartoons, because she really wanted us to learn the realism first before we really tried to delve into anything stylized. I've since met with her and she's seen a lot of my stylized work and really enjoys it. So just getting a grasp of the basics is really, really helpful. And this was something I had ran out of time that we were doing an exercise for and in class, but even now you can see my ranges are a lot better as far as getting really dark and then going to light. Also, you'll notice me more and more starting to hatch in these, because it's really natural for me to do that as opposed to other things. Little head studies, because we were starting to get into doing portraits. Sorry, my robot vacuum is beating up against my door. If you can hear that, I apologize. So just a lot of different practice with putting it into perspective and stuff, which, I mean, I didn't have a full grasp of, as you can see, but that's definitely gotten better over the years. And then I finished everything that we were supposed to do. I can't remember if I finished the piece beforehand or if I finished the practice she had given us for the piece. Probably the piece, but she gave me these sheets of references for like muscles to study. So this is from that, and I was focusing on muscle forms, and I got really interested, and this is when I really started to enjoy drawing, especially for me. I mean, male anatomy has always been easier just because I am a guy, and that's what I can see in the mirror, but I just really like drawing the human form, and it's such a fun puzzle to figure out. This is a lot nicer of a study. That hand's pretty small, but other than that, you know, pretty good. You can definitely tell I really like my hatching. in these. It's just really easy and quick way for me to get stuff down. Now this one is going to be a butt. A nice butt with some nice legs. And then that was the original that I was basing it off of. I didn't do the whole kicking motion thing. I just had him lifting up the one leg. And then I'll probably put that back in. I hope I remember to. And then we have another one, again, reference image, and then the actual photo drawing. That's what it's called, a drawing. That's what these are. So, but I try to be very note-takey with this stuff and really try to focus on one thing at a time, which isn't an approach that I had before this, and definitely being in a class that was more advanced drawing really helped me be able to develop one thing at a time. And she was really good about what to do next for the group as a whole. This was more muscle studying. See, this got really, the reference got really complicated with all of these tendons and stuff involved. Those were, as you can see, I didn't quite do all that mess. Let's move on. Yeah, getting more into face studies. I did, because for a really long time after this, I did, for her classes, I did so many portraits, so many portrait-based things. I like doing them, and I mean, I still draw a lot of like cartoon portraits, but not nearly as much then. But I used to not strictly, but before I got back into drawing cartoons and stuff, I got really into drawing like hyper-realistic portraiture, and that's what I did for probably a year or so before I delved back into some more stylized, whether it be cartoons or abstract. And I mean, that's the stuff that I have fun with now today. But this stuff is so essential to learning, and it can be a bit of a drag sometimes, I won't lie, because you want to do the fun, cool stuff with it, but this stuff is so essential for it. And I mean, I come back to it all the time, or try to. As I said, I need to here soon. So again, just breaking down face more and more and trying to really focus in on different shapes that are popping out of it, and it looking up and down, how that's going to work, really paying attention to giving the person a skull. A lot of people don't quite put like the back end of their skull behind the ears and everything, and it winds up giving it a very squished look. So you really need this full skull. You don't realize how much space is back here, but there's quite a lot, because your ear is only at like halfway point of your skull. So, and then getting back into texture and trying to do stuff with pen now. I think this was towards the end of that drawing 2 class. I could be wrong, but anyways, just exploring different textures and exploring some pen work, which I had tried doing before with line art characters and stuff. If you've seen previous sketchbooks, then you'll know what I'm talking about, but not so successful. So now this was just like a cheap 50-cent Bic pen is all this is, and I can't stress to you how you really don't need good materials to do good stuff. I mean, this looks pretty good. This was, I mean, it was just a from reference kind of a thing, but you still get a lot of texture and variety of, you know, even value. I'm able to lessen it here than say what I am with this tree. So you can still do a lot with even, this is just a 50-cent pen that you can buy at Staples or Office Depot or whatever office supply store is around you. Doesn't take a lot. Okay, so this was, I don't know what I was doing. This was some friends of mine at the time, and I was just drawing, including myself. I was translating our names into different languages and then writing them down. I don't know. And apparently that was enough to devote a whole page to, but then never keep on going with. So then this is admittedly a pretty topical thing. we got into some like more social commentary sort of deals. So we did a whole project on that and made kind of a more political, religious, bunch of other stuff, kind of a piece. And I remember there being a lot of like, for everybody's, because everybody just, you know, has a different opinion, but it was the first time that I really drew something that I felt passionate about at the time. And yeah, I won't go super into that because I don't want to upset anybody or anything about it. And even my own views on what I eventually did have changed a bit. But it was like the first time I ever actually put my own emotion into something. And that was my first piece that I did for an AP art, my first AP art class. I did 2 AP art classes, and that was the first piece I ever did for that. And it was so much fun, and I just have such fond memories of that class. Some more head studies that I was doing. More head studies. I think I was supposed to fill out this whole page and never did. I was really bad about wasting. Flipping through a couple of these that I didn't necessarily want to show. And then we were supposed to take like an ordinary object and do it in different ways. So I tried pencil to just like warp it with perspective to give it, I don't know, different, like more poppy look to it. Made it into a flower pot. Made it into, I was like, what if this was a mug or a trophy or something and it had a handle and a base to it? If it was a straw, if it could sit up against the wall. But that's what I wound up doing. Now this one was an interesting assignment. It was to our thinking, I don't remember the exact prompt, but it was like our thinking space or our zone, our dreams, kind of our inner conscious that we were supposed to display. This is the idea that I wound up rocking with, and I wound up doing like this really realistic looking brain and heart and everything for it, and it looked really cool at the time. I don't love it the most now, but it was a cool idea. This is the more so the composition that I ended up going with right there. And then we get into, this was an interpretation of Silence by Edgar Allan Poe. And it seemed like a duality kind of a thing for me, so I did this at first. It was my initial idea for it. She didn't seem to love this. I don't know quite why, but I can't remember her thoughts on it. But she didn't let me do that, so then I came up with this idea, and it was this person who seemed really serene and like somber and serious, yet there's a fire going on around them that they were having to like burn in, and it was just kind of this interesting dichotomy that I like doing. Again, a lot of these are just thumbnails for pieces I did outside. This was something I was doing, so my dad is a pastor, for those of you who don't know. So I was doing a, what's it called? Trying to think of a graphic for him, because he gets me to do a lot of art stuff for him now. Granted, I don't do that much. And then this was like putting people in nature in a natural environment. I ended up doing an idea pretty similar to this one of my friend who had a nice beard, and his beard kind of almost looked like, what's it called, algae or moss. It looked like moss, and I wanted to have mossy rocks that had water and stuff coming out of him, and the final result is still something I'm super proud of. Then there's a lot of other pieces that we wound up doing, and I don't know where all the thumbnails are for those, but we did a lot this semester. And then this wound up being about a series of work that I did for her towards the end of that semester. Then some practice with marker. Apparently that bled through a lot, so I kind of skipped over a couple of pages. This, I think, wound up being because we had a little extra time towards the end of the semester. So I think I was done with that series of pieces. So we did this one, and I did like a variety of line thing, and this turned out really cool. I still have this, and I actually did the next year I did the same person for the same project, but just changed how I did it and approached it. But it was cool to see, since it was the same person, like where my skills had changed in that past year. And then I did a thing on eating disorders, because I've known people who've gone through that. This was another social commentary piece, because this is now a whole year later from what that was. So I'd actually taken some other classes at this point, and had just used other sketchbooks for it, because that's, what I do for whatever reason, and it was very hard for me to dedicate myself to one. So I did a piece on eating disorders. This was, again, some of these are like the same prompts as what we had the year before. It's just different interpretations that I did for them. So that was the spacelessness one, or the inner thoughts kind of a thing. I did a composition pretty similar to this, as like this huge painting. I still have it. Again, I have most of these, but they're just buried away somewhere. I would go searching and take pictures of all of them for this video, but that's time that I don't have at the moment. So hopefully maybe I can pull out those pieces and flip through them for you guys one day. And then just more thumbnails, another Poe assignment. What did I end up doing for this one? Because none of those thumbnails look like anything that I remember doing. Anyways, that's more of an inner thought kind of a thing. Then we did this whole 6 interesting things with objects. So I took scissors, made them as like lollipops, or made it into a sword, used it, what if they're super huge, like a shear, but could cut down a tree, made it like a animal in the water, made it into a guitar design. So you could see at this point I was a little bit more creative too about what I could do with this stuff, instead of the pencil where it was just kind of literally a pencil and just took substitution places of. With this, it was a bit more inventive with how the scissors would work. And then that's just a little sketch of someone who came and sat in our class. We did a lot of figure studies. And then this was my concentration, my series of pieces that I did for that year. And I did a lot of thumbnail sketching for that. And then this was the nature person thing again. Again, just handled it differently and everything. So this, I did some of this in watercolor. I did this bottom part here, the actual scenery, in watercolor or gouache or something, and then this part of the face in graphite and charcoal as well. And then we had an anthology thing. So we had these things that we were trying to help work on and stuff. She was not a fan of what we did for these, and because she felt they were very cliche and beneath us kind of a thing. But what we ended up doing, we wound up reinventing a lot of them, and she wound up a little bit happier with them. So that's like the last art class that I really took in high school. And then we get into my younger college life. I had to get up because my dog wanted to join me in my room. But these were just, I was on a trip, did some different figure studies of people that were in the pool. They're just random things that came to mind. A lot more figure studies. Kind of didn't know quite what to do with myself other than to just draw people for a while. So I don't even have any like specific memories of any of this stuff. I just remember, oh, I need to keep on drawing, because I had at this point, known that I was going to college for art. And so I was like, I need to keep up my skill. And then I was like, holy crap, I can actually do all those character type stuff that I wanted to do all that time ago. So then I started drawing characters again. And then this was a superhero interpretation of the person I was dating at the time, and their superhero name was Rainwater. I still really like this design, actually, and I may do like a modern version of it, maybe. Some different weapon design, trying to figure out some different things to do as far as a hammer, especially for her. Just playing around. And then I tried using colored pencils in my sketchbook for a bit to just make it visually a little bit more interesting for myself. So like this really pops out for me even now, and I may start using some color pencils in my sketchbook again, because I mean they're a lot of fun, and I would just put in like a pastel or charcoal or something like that in the background and scribble over it just to make it pop. Got some arm practice I was doing. A lot of this stuff comes studies from Pinterest that I see, and with Pinterest, like, don't do stuff and take credit for it. It's great for references and stuff, but don't just sit there and copy Pinterest all day, you know. Try to do something else with it. But I do use Pinterest a good bit just for finding references, and try to draw more than you save though on your boards. But just some more stuff. Oh, this was when I started watching, this was when the first season of Blown Away had come out. I watched it, and I didn't know that blowing glass was a thing, and I was so impressed by it. I wanted to draw people doing it, and I literally did one sketch of it, and I guess that was too much for me. So then I think this was maybe me getting back into some book things. Potentially, I don't have clear memories of these. This was, if you remember, a character from my other sketchbook that popped up a lot. This is him again, but as you can see, this is fairly similar to how I draw now. Not the most similar, but we're getting there, kind of a thing. But I brought him back, I guess, for a bit, and then modernized him a bit, trying to learn more about chest muscles, because I'm trying to learn more too about how to freehand. Oh my gosh, I think I was just really angry at this. I do remember scribbling this. This would happen a couple times, and there were times I would throw out, not sketchbooks, but I would grab a piece, rip it out, crumple it up in a ball, and throw it away, kind of a thing. But was getting into Black Clover, so Asta, and oh my gosh, I'm literally, you know, I'm reading it now. I was caught up for a while, and then haven't watched it in a few years, and wanted to read through it because the manga art for it is so cool. And there's this guy. Oh, and for whatever reason, I decided to draw this symbol. And this symbol, if you've seen a lot of my character stuff that I post on Instagram, this symbol, guarantee you, is in most of them. As a necklace or jewelry piece or some kind of something, this is there. I don't know what it means. I just thought it was a fun little symbol that I did, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna put that everywhere now for whatever reason. It's almost like a little signature that's not. And then started taking animation classes to only find out I didn't like doing animation, but I have some minimal skill in animation. This is just notes on kind of the history of animation. Then this is actually where the idea of Jergan, or JerganJaze, as you know the channel now, started, was because of a D&D character. Well, before that, it was a nickname that I had at work, and then I wanted to name a character, so I named him Jergan. It was a dragonborn from D&D, and then his father's name was Jaze, and right around the time I was using D&D Beyond, and you could log into D&D Beyond if you had a Twitch account. So all I used the Twitch account for when I set it up was just to log in, and since the character I was playing was Jergan and his dad was Jaze, I just was like, well, that's my Twitch name, JerganJaze, and then that became YouTube and everything else. So a little insight to my history there. This was another character that I designed. Now this is very similar to how I draw now. Well, minus like the nose is kind of freaky. But Another player was playing as this character named Soshi. I did another page, although this is probably the best design I did of her. I did another page trying to design it. I don't really like it as much, but another Asta, because I was obsessed with them. That's a little better drawing of them too. I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl. No clue. But anyways, just some more studies. I started to get into, like, with dragons, I was like, so if I study human anatomy for, you know, drawing human characters, what do I study to draw dragons? And it was like, I looked up some stuff, and it was like, you could learn how to draw different fantasy creatures by basing them off of real creatures. So with a dragon, a typical thing to be studied is a deer or a horse. So you can see where I would take, like, this one. It's probably the best example. I took the deer, did the study of it, and then I did a kind of a dragon over it with the same mostly skeletal structure, the same perspective, the same, like, neck tilt kind of stuff going on with it. And then this was just a little Jewish wizard question mark, just a little dumb guy I made. I like making little dumb guys in my sketchbooks. I'm not Jewish. I don't know why I decided to do that, but I guess I thought it was funny. Just some different, I guess, art supplies that I had gotten. Yeah, that was a birthday gift I had gotten, and I was just going through and using it. Some more studies, just practicing. I think I was specifically trying to practice necks here, and just, it's always good to practice. And then this is obviously Meliodas character copy that I did, Uraraka from My Hero. Then we have this random guy who's holding up the sun. I think this was supposed to be like something from Dark Souls and the whole praise the sun idea. So he's I don't know. It was a thing. I made it. It's there. It exists now. Adventurer dude. And then we have, I know her name starts with an M. I can't remember it. She's a great character. I haven't gotten that far in my Black Clover read through right now, but she's here. And you can tell my faces, at least with my characters, have gotten fairly consistently solid now. More Asta, because Asta's great. Bon, my boy from Seven Deadly Sins. It's been a while since I've read or watched or anything Seven Deadly Sins. I want to get back into it, because it was one of my favorite things. Granted, the animation kind of went downhill. That's a whole nother rant for another day. Some more torso practice. I was really also, the idea was I was trying to work, I was good at head, so I was like, okay, what's the thing connected to the head, to the torso? So I was trying to get good at torsos next, and then worry about the lower body. But even then, you still gotta practice like whole body. But I remember that being my thought process at the time. What is this? Not how this is supposed to look. I just wanted to cover the page, so I just drew a really awful looking alligator or crocodile thing. See, it's the stuff like this that I'm really fond of that I did. Some more faces. I know this was supposed, yeah, that was supposed to be Soshi, the one character from my D&D campaign. Old guy, just some, there's the symbol. I draw this symbol a lot. What do I want to do with it? So I kept on drawing it, I guess. And then I started a One Piece around this time, and I'm obsessed with that show. I'm all caught up and everything, but I drew a really bad Luffy there. Again, just some more practice. I made a crab into a person, because why not? Little frog down there. Now these are definitely Pinterest studies. So this was, I was like, okay, cool. I've been studying all this anatomy. I want to start doing more perspective with it. I want to start doing action poses and everything. So that's when I got into that. And then this is, wow, this is like a back step for me. This is really cliche looking. How long is, oh my gosh, this sketchbook's so long, guys. I'm so sorry. It's a thick one. This is from a comic called Saga, at least with these two characters. Yeah, those two characters are from Saga. Lana and Marco. Really good comic series. It is an adult graphic novel, though, so good for you adults. And whenever you other people get mature enough for it, give it a read. Saga. It's really, really, really good. Art is so good. Like Fiona Staples, the artist for it, one of my favorite artists. Another little derpy wizard type character. Some more Pinterest studies. This is an African hook sword. This is something that historically did exist. It may still exist today, I'm not sure. I mean, copies and stuff like that do, but I don't know if it's used anymore today. And then some more just characters, because, you know, that's what we do. A little bit of hand practice and trying to do hands holding something. Some ideas for my animation class, so just some thumbnails for it, for keyframes. Back to, these were definitely Pinterest, and then I put on hair and faces and stuff. I was really into haiku at the time, so I started actually drawing like jersey type stuff. Here's my little symbol again in there. I put it everywhere. Why the number 5? I don't know. Oh yeah, this is around the time that I think I was watching Fire Force. Or no, I watched Fire Force way before this. I guess I just wanted to do a random drawing of Shinra. Darwin as well from Amazing World of Gumball. Got Finrel. We got Yami. I was in a Japanese class, so I was practicing with their names there. Had this cool One Piece idea for a painting. I started it. I never finished it because I really didn't know how to do digital art at this point, and it was something I was very new to and trying to figure out still. And it took me many hours and honestly a couple years later until I was actually any decent at it. Joker. But what's her name? It's a girl from Fire Force. I really like her. I don't remember her name. This is some basic practice with just line and shape and form. And this is such a weird looking torso / body. I know that's what it's supposed to be, but it was me just mashing forms together. Ooh, this was around Unis Honest time. So I did this of Markiplier from their Unis Honest episode of them drawing or painting each other nude. And this is one of my favorite artists. As far as musical artists, I listen to metalcore a lot. So this is August Burns' Red lead vocalist, and he also plays bass from time to time. So this was him ripping a bass during a song that was more instrumental than not. And he actually, sorry to hit the camera, I tagged him in it, and he messaged me and was like, I would love to have that. And I was like, cool. I did a watercolor version of it to give to him, and then the show that we were going to, because of COVID, got canceled. So, yay! Yeah, COVID really hit. So this was actually a tattoo idea I had done for a friend. He didn't get this one. I like his a lot more. Whoever the tattoo artist, he got to do it, or the designer, a lot better job than I did with these. More. So this, I think, is when I started my challenge of drawing every day for a year, which wound up filling up quite a lot of empty space in the back of sketchbooks and filling up a couple of sketchbooks in and of itself. How do you say that? Anyways, I would do like a thing a day. I try to have a focus each day, and it made me improve drastically. So I think that's what this is from. Maybe I just decided I want to draw Shinra a lot. Some hands here. That could have been from what that's from. Maybe not. These I know. Well, okay, that's Pinterest. That's from a book. And then these are my own. And then derp. That's Pinterest, that's Pinterest. So a lot of copying, a lot of studying. It's not a bad thing to do though. I mean, you do learn from it. And then these were just some random dudes. I think I had started playing The Witcher at the time, or had finished it, or something like that. So I think those were inspired by Witcher. Shoyo, Hinata from Haikyuu. Some these were all anatomy studies from Pinterest. Some more really dynamic one. This one's really cool because it's just the head is all you can see, and then the arm and legs just kind of flailing out from it. This used to be my phone lock screen for a while. It was just this, and I don't know why this formation just is really appealing to me. I may come back to this and maybe do like some characters over it. I know this was a mix of Pinterest and self-drawing, so I don't remember what parts were me and what parts were Pinterest. Getting back into, I was wanting to draw some more dragons, so doing some form practice beforehand, doing eye practice, different head shapes. Again, Haikyuu just was really on my mind at the time, so I did some volleyball studies. Another head from that book. Trying to do running in perspective, not the best attempt at it or whatever. What is that? I don't know what that is. This was some study or keyframe thumbnails for an animation I did. Still up on my Instagram if you want to check it out. You would have to scroll a ways back, but it's there. It's there. These were definitely Pinterest studies. That was, when I did this, we were at a Starbucks. Because again, this was who I was dating at the time, and just did like a cartoon version of how I thought she looked that day. Got some more. This is out of the book that I was doing, dragon book that I have. I love that book. It's really cool. Gives you a lot of different inspiration and tools for drawing dragons, and I love drawing dragons. We'll study. This was from a book cover. Yeah, failed copy of book cover rip. And then this was another Pinterest. Good to study. More book stuff, getting into different ears. I don't love ears on dragons, but I mean, it was nice to have that in kind of a visual library. And even these are cool ears to put on other creatures. Some more studies. You can see that one down there, yeah. Some more studies. These were thumbnails I had thought about doing paintings of, and never did because I sucked at painting and digital art and stuff. But all those things have improved, so and that's good because improvement is good, and that means that I actually grew in the past 2 or 3 years since I drew in this. This was not part of my daily drawing for a year thing that I did. I thought it was back there when we saw Shinra, but it was not. Some more Pinterest. No clue what this is. Oh, this was some notes from animation. Nothing really of note here. I don't know. More people. Different dragon horns. Different things. I wound up doing like a combination of these. Yeah, this is a cool one. I like the 3 horns, and the silhouette this makes is really cool. I've done some iterations of this since then. And then this was like a just cool horny, not in that horny sense, but horn covered skeleton dude. I don't know what the thought was behind that, but it was a thing. Study some a face I really messed up. This was, I was starting to get into trying to do some more clothing. So this was a study of someone's like punk outfit that they had. I tried doing a like a drawing daily thing and using daily drawing prompts, and so I had like mummies for this day. I had Pokemon fusions. It took you to a website, and you would hit the button. It would randomly put Pokemon fusions together for you, and I would draw those. Shrek, love Shrek. Banana was one day. Seagull was one day. This was from a meme that I did. This is instantly what I thought of when I thought of Seagull. Reagan from Mob Psycho, because I started to draw that. Or, I mean, watch that around this time. And then a little, this is a statue I still own. Oh, it would probably help if I actually turned it the right way, huh? So you could actually view it. And this was just a statue I have, just a still life of it. Really kind of nice still life, because, I mean, it has a lot of cool markings and stuff like that in it. And that brings us to a conclusion, finally, with this sketchbook. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, ooh, let me get that hair out of the way. Please like the video, really helps me out, helps me boost it to other people. Comment on what your favorite sketches were in this and how you saw improvement in me and different things maybe you would want to learn. I'm open to doing some YouTube tutorials for art. And yeah, just thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.